Good morning. Welcome back to the kitchen. Sorry about the lighting. You might hear some cartoons in the background. Got kids up. You know how it goes. It's the way things are these days. Um, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about a friend of mine named Phil and what that friendship meant to me. Phil's been on my mind a little bit recently, so I just wanted to share some of those thoughts because somehow they get me to God. When I was in high school, I kind of perceived myself as being tough. And the reason that that makes me laugh a little bit is because I can't imagine, like, if people who knew me in high school were to hear me say that, they would just laugh because I was a really scrawny kid, really skinny and scrawny and kind of geeky. I had a big mouth and I'd run it all the time, but I never really had to pay for that because I had really big, tough friends. And they covered over my weakness with their strength. And one of those guys was Phil. It's Phil and Jamie, right? And others too. But Phil was one of these people that because I knew him, I got to feel like I was tough, even though I wasn't. Because I kind of was, because at least nobody would mess with me because of him. When I first met Phil, we were in the ninth grade. The guy was a fully formed man, strong, and he was cut too. He's like it was like a weightlifter. And he was just so much bigger than everybody else. He had really long hair and he wore leather jackets and that kind of thing. And he was just a tough guy. And you just always assumed when he was in the room that he was in charge. Even if there were adults in the room, Phil's in charge. I got to know Phil because we played in bands together. And because I got to be in bands with him, I got to be around him, and we got to be really good friends. It meant that one of the benefits of being a friend of his is that his toughness kind of got to apply to me. Not just him and Jamie, right? That because they were who they were, people just didn't mess with me. They covered over my weakness. Do you hear what I'm saying? And the reason I've been thinking about that and I wanted to share it with you is because it reminds me of the way Luther talks about the Christian life. That whatever we have, it really doesn't belong to us. It's really something that is on loan to us so that we can use it for the benefit of our neighbor. Like if we have a neighbor who has a weakness of any sort, where we have strength, we use that strength to cover over their weakness. If we have righteousness, we use that righteousness to cover over the unrighteousness of our neighbor. If we have wealth, we use it to cover over the poverty of our neighbor. This is how Luther describes the Christian life, and I'm realizing that's exactly what Phil did for me. And the reason that we do these things is not just because it's nice, it's because we can change their lives. When Luther says we should do these things to cover over, right, wherever there's a deficiency in our neighbor, it's because we change their lives when we do it. See, because Phil covered over my weakness with his strength, I got to have a different view of myself. And to this day, I kind of stand tall. And I never assume I'm weak, even though kind of, to be honest with you, I think I am. He made me feel strong. And because of that, I have a confidence that I have to this day that I never would have had without him. That's how we can change people's lives, is that we can change the way they think of themselves by giving them the things that they need if we have them. And I know that that sounds like it's a big grand idea, but it's not. Phil showed me that it's possible. And if you wouldn't mind, for just 30 seconds, I want to take it even deeper than that, even all the way to the cross. Because Luther said the reason that we cover over the weakness of our neighbors with our strength is because this is what God did for us on the cross. Philippians 2, that business, where God empties God's self of God's strength and then hands that strength to the world. That this is what God does on the cross, so that when we cover over the needs of our neighbors, we're doing what Christ did for us on the cross. Is it fair to suggest that by covering over my weakness, what Phil did was Christ-like? Yeah, I really think that's true. Even though he didn't even know that, he wouldn't have been thinking along those lines, but he did it. So then imagine what we could accomplish. Phil did this for me accidentally and changed my whole life. Imagine what would happen if we did these things consciously. If we gather our strength together so that we can cover over the weakness of those around us. Think of what the world could look like. And this isn't some grand idea. It's possible. Phil showed me. So I've been thinking about that in the ways I hope to kind of maybe incorporate more of that into my own life. And I appreciate that you were willing to stick around and let me share that with you. even if it were over some cartoons and stuff like that. I'm glad that you took the time to be with me today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Peace.